now the sermon will be delivered by the man who comes closer perhaps than anyone alive to being the official chaplain of the White House, a man who has counseled presidents going all the way back to Harry Truman, the Reverend Billy Graham.
The great king of ancient Israel, David, said on the death of Saul, who had been a bitter enemy, "Know ye not that there is a prince and a great man fallen this day in Israel?" Today, we remember that with the death of Richard Nixon, a great man has fallen. We've heard that the world has lost a great citizen, and America has lost a great statesman. And those of us that knew him have lost a personal friend. You know, few events touch the heart of every American as profoundly as the death of a president. For the president is our leader, and every American feels that he knows him in a very special way because he hears his voice so often, sees him on television, reads about him in the press. And so we all mourn his loss and feel that our world is a bit lonelier without him. But to you who were close to him, this grief is an added pain because you wept when he wept and you laughed when he laughed. And here amidst these familiar surroundings under these California skies, his earthly life has come full circle. It was here that Richard Nixon was born and reared and his life was molded. But the scripture teaches that there's a time to be born, a time to live, and a time to die. Richard Nixon's time to die came last Friday evening. Since 1990, he had had a brilliant young cardiologist as his doctor by the name of Jeffrey Bora. And last Tuesday, the day after the president suffered his stroke, the doctor came by the New York hospital to examine him. He was partially paralyzed and could not speak, but he was still alert. And as the doctor talked, the president reached out and grabbed his arm with an unusual strength. Then as the doctor turned to leave, something made him turn around and look back to the bed where Richard Nixon was lying. And just at that moment, the president waved and gave his trademark thumbs-up signal and smiled. That took determination, which he had, and we've heard about already today. It was an example of fighting on and never giving up that Jeffrey Bora will never forget. Now, President Nixon's great voice, his warm, intelligent eyes, his generous smile are missed as we gather here again, just 10 months after we were here when his beloved Pat went to heaven. A few months ago, he was asked in a television interview, "How would you like to be remembered?" He thought a moment and then he replied, "I'd like to be remembered as one who made a difference." And he did make a difference in our world, as we've heard so eloquently this afternoon. There's an old saying that a tree is best measured when it's laid down. The great events of his life have already been widely recounted by the news media this week, and it's not my purpose to restate what others have already said so eloquently, including those who have spoken so movingly here today. I think most of us have been staggered by the many things that he accomplished during his life. His public service kept him at the center of the events that have shaped our destiny. This week, Time magazine says that by sheer endurance, he rebuilt his standing as the most important figure of the post-war era. During his years of public service, Richard Nixon was on center stage during our generation. He had a great respect for the office of the president. I never heard him one time criticize a living president who was in the office at that time. There's an old Indian saying, Never criticize a man until you've walked a mile in his shoes. However, there was